This is the best, worst MacBook ever made. That's a weird sentence, I know, but trust me, it makes sense, because this is a 2017 12-inch MacBook. It's the final revision of one of Apple's biggest recent failures. The 12-inch MacBook was a reboot of the original MacBook, which came out in 2006, that launched in 2015. But it only got 2 updates and was killed off a couple of years ago because, quite frankly, it never really made any sense. It was ahead of its time in all the wrong ways. So then this 2017 revision is the best version of the worst MacBook. And what I'd like to find out today is there any justification for having one? Incidentally, that also means I have to tell you the story of how I got this particular Retina MacBook for surprisingly little money. Trust me, you're gonna wanna check this out. So make sure to get subscribed, leave a like down below, and let's get started. Today's video is sponsored by Trifo. Their new Lucy AI home robot offers crystal clear day and night vision, intelligent 3D mapping, and precise object avoidance to keep your home spotless. A 1080p HDR color camera and time-of-flight depth sensor work together to build a high-resolution 3D map of your room and measure small objects down to 1 inch, allowing the vacuum to schedule the best route around your home. Lucy's 6-core ARM SoC allows it to intelligently break down your space room by room and give you unprecedented control of cleaning areas, no-go zones, and scheduling. Plus, with the Trifo Home app as well as Google Assistant and Amazon Alexa integration, it couldn't be easier to schedule and integrate Lucy into your smart home system. Lucy is equipped with powerful 4,000 Pascal suction, as well as a pet hair extractor to hoover up crumbs, pet hair, dust, and debris. And its 5200 mAh battery keeps it running for up to 120 minutes at a time. To check out Trifo and the Lucy AI smart home robot, check out the link in the description below. And now, back to the video. You join me here with an empty table because in order to tell you about the best, worst 12-inch MacBook ever, first I have to build it. Yeah, so for this video, I could have gone on eBay and bought one of these 2017 models for like $400 or $500 in good condition. But instead what I've done is buy 2 broken ones because I like to make things harder for myself. Now straight away, these just came in. You can tell the first issue, they're not the same color. I thought they were both gold, but this seller forgot to mention that it's actually rose gold. This one, the rose gold one, well, the issue is pretty apparent immediately. Yeah, the display is fairly clearly damaged, and as a result of that, I paid $230 for this computer. Everything else works, and the condition is great, but that display, it's no good. So then I bought this MacBook, which, to be honest, is not supposed to be doing that. What? I paid $140 for this MacBook, and they said it was broken? Wait, what? Okay, so it does say that it's recommending a battery service, but given that I bought this thing as being dead, they said the logic board was not powering on, they said the speakers don't work, and they said the battery doesn't work. I beg to differ. The only thing wrong with it is it's a little dirty, so let's clean it up and get back into the video. So that was definitely one of the more surprising video introductions that I have ever done, because I genuinely had no expectation of this thing working. Now straight away, with this particular one, $140, there are 1 or 2 issues, specifically 2 issues. Now the first one I was actually able to fix. So in the eBay listing, they said that the speakers didn't work. And I thought, that's a little bit weird. I don't know how that ended up happening. Maybe there's something up with the headphone jack. And sure enough, I opened this machine up, I disconnected and then reconnected the headphone port, which is on a little ribbon cable, and now the speakers work perfectly. So that's one problem fixed. The other issue is that the battery in this isn't great. It doesn't hold a great charge, and I bought a new one on eBay for $10. So that's about $150 once this thing is all fixed up. So what exactly did I buy? Well, this is a rather fetching gold 2017 12-inch MacBook. It's the base model, which comes with a 1.2 gigahertz Core M3, 8 gigabytes of RAM, Intel integrated graphics, and 256 gigabytes of storage. Now, what makes the 2017s different from the 2016 and 15 models that came before them is these are using Kaby Lake processors, which fixed a number of things about the previous revisions. The 2015 in particular had a ton of problems. I mean, they're basically time bombs, and you should not buy one because they have SSD failure. They have USB controller failure. They have CPU failure. Like pretty much every component on the original 2015 version will fail. But by 2017, they got it worked out, so at the very least, it won't die spontaneously and inexplicably. So I've accidentally gotten quite a good deal on this MacBook. And now the question at the beginning of the video was, is it worth it? Now, for $150, even the most problematic MacBook is probably worth $150 if it's less than 10 years old, or especially if it has a Retina display. I mean, I have never purchased any Retina MacBook for $150, so already I'm happy with it. But let's say more realistically, you buy one of these not as a broken listing and happen to get lucky that it still works. Let's say you pay about what these things go for. You can find them very easily for under $400. And that is not something that you can say about any other MacBook that came out in 2017, except for maybe the MacBook Air. You can find those for pretty cheap, but they definitely don't have Retina displays. So it does kind of make you reconsider it, at least a little bit. Because one of the big complaints with these Retina MacBooks is the performance. Quite frankly, well, it's less powerful than an iPhone 10. It's ever so slightly more powerful than a 2012 unibody 13-inch MacBook Pro and ever so slightly less powerful than a late 2013 Retina 13-inch MacBook Pro. So those machines are significantly older than it, and a unibody is significantly cheaper than it. Well, it's interesting because if that's where your comparison is, I have to be honest, there are some advantages to going to the 12-inch MacBook, namely the form factor. That is always something that really appealed to me about this MacBook. Even knowing that it's not very fast and it overheats, there's something about a tiny little, like barely 2-pound laptop that is extremely appealing. Now, sure, there are sacrifices that you have to make. I mean, hello, there's one USB-C port, and no, that's not Thunderbolt, even on this 2017 model, just regular USB-C. We also get a headphone jack, and that's it. The thing that has really stood out to me, though, as I've been using this MacBook is, even though theoretically it should feel like using an old Retina MacBook Pro, it kind of feels more like using a unibody MacBook Pro. Even though it has very fast SSDs, LPDDR3 soldered RAM, this should feel much snappier than an older, much more mechanical unibody MacBook Pro, but it doesn't. And that's concerning, because if you get a nice one of these and you spend $400 or even $500 on it, you're going to be disappointed. The multi-core performance of this entire computer is significantly less than a single core from an M1 MacBook Pro. It's just slow, and it gets really hot doing it too. And honestly, that has been the biggest obstacle. As much as I love this form factor, and would love to daily drive something this small and this portable for a couple of days. I just can't justify giving up everything else. And honestly, I think that's why they're becoming so cheap. I mean, we're in a pandemic right now. There's not a huge demand for something that's this portable. It's almost weirdly prophetic that Apple discontinued this just a few months before the pandemic started. It's almost as if they knew. Realistically though, this machine was ahead of its time in all the wrong ways. It introduced the butterfly keyboard, which went well. It introduced this new design language, which was thermally constrained in all of its implementations. And it was this machine really that showed that Apple couldn't make a computer be whatever they wanted it to be with an Intel processor in it. I mean, when you compare the fanless Intel MacBook to the fanless Apple Silicon MacBook, the Air, it's worlds apart. I mean, the MacBook Air is one of the best computers, full stop, that money can buy. And this, well, it's kind of on the opposite end of that spectrum. It's one of the worst. And that makes concluding this video really challenging. I'm so conflicted because, I mean, on the one hand, for $150, you can't really complain. Any recent MacBook is a good deal at $150. And this one is only a couple of years old. So yes, objectively, a good deal for that money. But the 12-inch MacBook broadly, the 2017 version, while it avoids some of the catastrophic pitfalls of the earlier versions, it's not quite enough for it to be a good option. This isn't something that I would put on your short list if you're looking for a used, inexpensive MacBook. Yeah, it's definitely one of the prettier things that you can buy under $500, but I feel like you're giving up a lot. As a secondary device to give to the kids to bring on an airplane or something like that, sure, I could see that making some sense. That's kind of what I want to do with this one. But if you need a primary computer, I would strongly advise you not to buy one of these. So that is my take on the best, worst MacBook ever made. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm sure more than a few 12-inch Retina MacBook owners are going to be here and have some thoughts for me, so definitely let me know down below. As usual, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.